On November 5th, Americans will go to the polls to elect their next president. Until June 27th, it seemed that the matchup would be between the same two candidates as in 2020. Joe Biden, the Democratic incumbent, and Donald Trump, his Republican predecessor in office. But that night, Mr. Biden delivered a disastrous debate performance. It immediately made Democrats question Mr. Biden's fitness for the task. On July 21st, he bowed to pressure and withdrew from the race. He endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, as the Democratic candidate. Vice President Kamala Harris beats former President Donald Trump in at least 11 surveys taken after the Democratic National Convention, adding to her winning polling streak and expanding her edge on Trump since July, though the size of her lead remains unchanged from before the convention. Harris leads Trump by 2 points in Today Economist and YouGov survey, consistent with results from the group's August 25th to 27th poll, where she led Trump by 3 points in an August 17th to 20th survey, and 2 points in an August 11th to 13th poll. Harris has a 50 to 46% lead with all registered voters, and a 52 to 46% lead with likely voters. An Ipsos and ABC News poll taken from August 23rd to 27th found, essentially unchanged from Harris's 4-point edge among registered voters and 5-point lead with likely voters 2 weeks earlier, margin of error of 2 points. The vice president was up more than 5 points in both two-way, 52.6% to 47.4%, and five-way, 49.5% to 44% matchups with third-party candidates on the ballot, according to an outward intelligence survey of 2,191 likely voters taken August 25th to 29th. Harris led Trump 47 to 45% if third-party candidates were included, or 48 to 47% head-to-head in a Wall Street Journal poll released August 29th, marking the first time in over a year Trump has trailed in a journal survey, a reversal from Trump's 49 to 47% head-to-head edge a month ago. The poll surveyed registered voters from August 24th to 28th, margin of error 2.5 points. Harris had a 49 to 47% edge in Quinnipiac's first poll of likely voters within the poll's 2.4% margin of error, as Trump and Harris split independents, 45 to 45%. The poll taken August 23rd to 27th allowed respondents to pick third-party candidates, and in a head-to-head race, Harris's lead shrinks to 49 to 48%. The vice president led Trump by 5 points, 48 to 43%, among likely voters, in his Suffolk and USA Today poll taken from August 25th to 28th. A massive shift from Trump's 41 to 38% lead over President Joe Biden shortly after Biden's rough debate performance in June. The latest survey's margin of error is 3.1 points. Harris had a 45 to 41% lead in an Ipsos and Reuters poll of registered voters released August 29th, outpacing the poll's 2-point margin of error, and expanding Harris's 1-point advantage in late July. Another Ipsos poll that didn't include Reuters recorded a 5-point Harris lead in early August. A handful of other surveys showed Harris's lead virtually unchanged since the Democratic National Convention. She led Trump by just 1 point in a Yahoo News and YouGov poll, compared to a tie shortly after the Republican National Convention, when Biden remained in the race. Harris leads Trump by a larger margin, 48 to 44%, in an August 23rd to 25th Morning Consult survey of registered voters, findings that mirror the group's August 16th to 18th survey taken before the Democratic National Convention, which concluded last week in Chicago. Surveys have broadly shown a shift in Democrats' favor since Harris's July entrance into the race. In the lead-up to the DNC, Harris had a 51 to 48% edge among likely voters, according to CBS and YouGov. Just one major poll in recent weeks, taken by Fox News and released August 15th, found Trump leading 50 to 49% among registered voters. Biden dropped out of the race on July 21st after resisting calls from within his own party for weeks to end his re-election bid in the wake of his disastrous performance in the June 27th debate. Biden immediately endorsed Harris, and she announced plans to seek the nomination. The party has quickly coalesced around her, with 99% of Democratic delegates voting to officially nominate her in a virtual roll call prior to the convention. Harris tapped Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate, weeks after Trump announced Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his pick for vice president at the start of the Republican National Convention on July 18th. Democrats held their convention on August 19th to 22nd in Chicago. The chart above shows the latest national polling averages. Ms. Harris has the support of enough delegates to the Democratic National Convention to win the nomination. She will have little time to define herself to voters and counter Mr. Trump's campaign. Mr. Biden's presidency has been associated with high inflation, big industrial policy bills, and turmoil abroad, things which Republicans will seek to pin on Ms. Harris too. But she has one clear advantage over Mr. Biden: her age. At 59, she's over 2 decades younger than he is, and 18 years younger than Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, meanwhile, has a dismal record. Supporters tried to overturn his election loss in 2020. He faces federal charges over his alleged participation in that scheme, and has been convicted of felonies for hush money payments connected to his 2016 presidential campaign. On July 13th, at a rally in Pennsylvania, a 20-year-old man shot at Mr. Trump, grazing the former president's ear and killing a bystander. After this assassination attempt, politicians of all stripes urged allies and rivals to lower the political temperature. Mr. Trump, who showed rare restraint in the aftermath of the shooting, has since returned to his divisive rhetoric and speeches. We are entering the heat of the campaign, and the race between Kamala Harris and Donald J. Trump remains incredibly close by any measure. We've updated these polls to combine our 2 previous averages.